today? I forget what day it is. I think it's a Monday. Is it a Monday? No, it's a Tuesday. It's the 2nd of December. Hope you're well today. So I thought I'd do some property sourcing Q&A because we get all sorts of questions coming through. One about the training, of course, and then also about, obviously, the UK market is a bit of a mess, isn't it? You know, we've gone through it ourselves, trying to sell property, trying to offload our portfolio, been very, very challenging. Luckily, because we've been in the game for so long, we've been able to find investors to actually buy off a large proportion of our portfolio. But I've heard some real horror stories, you know, which is really good, by the way, if you're a property sourcer, because those horror stories mean that there's some opportunities here for you, I think. And so let me talk about where some of those opportunities are right now, because I think it's really important that people really understand what's going on. So, for example, one property we tried to put through with an estate agent and they couldn't sell it. I've tried to put it through an auction and that didn't work either. And the problem that we found is that there's no buyers out there. And luckily we managed to find somebody else. But this is the problem, is that people are putting properties on the marketplace and they're having to really keep on dropping the price. And this is a really good opportunity if you're a property sourcer, if you've got investors ready, waiting and able. That's the key. Having investors are everywhere. There's so many tire kickers out there. Are you a cash buyer? Oh yeah, I'm definitely a cash buyer. Okay, let me see your bank statement. Dude, you're not a cash buyer, you haven't got any money. Like, you know, I get that you don't have money. I get that you have to borrow it from a bank in order to get a mortgage, but don't go around telling people you're cash buyers if you're not a cash buyer. And so a lot of properties right now are sticking on the market. A lot of landlords are selling up. So if you're a landlord or if you're sourcing deals for a landlord, you've really got a lot of opportunity out there. And the problem with so much opportunity is it's a bit like a jumble sale. And I don't like jumble sales. You know, when you go, what's that shop? It's in Leeds, and they sell all the big brands names like Boss and Slazenger. Slazenger's not a big brand. And what's it called? TK Maxx. TK Maxx is like a jumble sale, isn't it? It's just a dreadful place, is TK Maxx. The one in Leeds, I go down the escalator. Basically, on that basement, it sucks all of your energy out. I have no idea what it is with TK Maxx in Leeds, sucking out all that energy, but it just seems to dissipate. And I feel exhausted after just a few minutes. Anyway, it is like a jumble sale in TK Maxx, which, you know, if you love jumble sales and you've got the time to go through all the opportunities, all the deals that are going to be in there, then brilliant. But that's what property sourcing is like right now. If you've got time to go through all the riffraff properties that are going out on the marketplace right now, brilliant. You're going to find some really good opportunities. And, you know, one of the things that winds me up is when people go, oh, you can't find a property on Rightmove and present that to an investor. Of course you bloody well can. We've done loads of deals like that. Of course you can do that. Some of our best deals come off Rightmove. The one I mentioned in our training is the one that we bought for 101,500, and it was on at 170 grand. And we put an offer in of 140, and the estate agent said we were taking the piss. And lo and behold, we closed it at 141,500, just 1,500 quid more. We came down from 170 to 140, back up to 141, and we closed that deal very, very quickly. And it'd been on the market ages. And so these deals are out there. They're everywhere. But again, this is part of the problem, because these deals are everywhere. You're like, oh no, getting a deal is not a problem. I'll easily get a deal. So you don't focus on getting a deal. So you don't do all the steps that you need to do in order to get a deal, to negotiate the deal, to work out if it's actually going to stack up or not, do the due diligence on a deal. So you end up not doing that, and you end up not actually selling anything because you've not actually done the work. And this is one of the problems is, yeah, we've got all these opportunities right now with all these properties. Great. But if you've not got buyers lined up to buy them, what are you going to do? And also, the number of deals is overwhelming. How do you find a good deal when the market's kind of, you know, it's not crashing as such, but it's certainly not pretty out there? So let's talk about what's going to work in 2026 when it comes to finding deals. You know, the standard stuff like leaflet drops, you know, I'm a leaflet drop guy. In the training, we talk about how we drop 50,000 leaflets a month. I love leaflet drops. Leaflet drops are definitely one of the way forward um, for you to find some deals and some good opportunities. Really good opportunities with leaflet drops. You've got to be dropping enough of them. That's the only thing. And we've had people come up and go, "Oh, I've dropped I dropped 500 leaflets," and I go, "Okay, great. In how long?" And they're like, "Oh, mm, 2 days." Like, dude, like you ain't closing anything. Or even worse, like I've dropped 1,000 leaflets in a week. Like, dropping 10 to 20,000 leaflets is going to take you what, like 10 to 20 weeks? Like, no, that's not how you do it. If you're going to go into this, you've absolutely got to be um, on the ball and dropping leaflets. Like, where are the deals going to come from right now? Estate agents, for example. Do you think estate agents might be a good one right now? Probably. They got a lot of stock they cannot get rid of. The whole market's kind of ruined. Um, there's other opportunities out there as well, like Article 4, where you're not allowed to have HMOs in an Article 4 area. There's some really good opportunities there, not for HMOs. We're actually going to put some title split training into the property sourcing training. That's coming, I should think, in this month. In the next 30 days, there'll be some really good title split training in there. And I'm not the expert on title training whatsoever, but as an introductory for title split, brilliant. We're going to provide some of that, and then we'll provide you with the introduction to the actual title split expert who you should be using. There's a few out there. There's one who's really, really good, whose training I've done, and they are amazing. And we'll put that in there. So, what else has slowed down? City centre flats. Like, I would never buy a city centre flat again, by the way. Just the whole lease option thing, leasehold situation, the service charges, the waking watch that we got charged. I personally wouldn't do that. But also, because I personally wouldn't do that, other people are not doing that as well. There's some really good deals out there. Grenfell still has had a very negative effect on leasehold properties. We've had stuff that we've owned for 20 years, just literally hasn't gone up in price because it's leasehold. And even though the market is really messy, there is still a good opportunity for sourcing properties and making a good living sourcing deals in the UK. When there's times of turbulence, somebody's making money. Like, think about that for a second. Why do you think, I'll give a good example. Why do you think Donald Trump puts in all these tariffs, right? Do you think it's to help the American people? Or do you think he just goes and buys a whole bunch of stuff? Now, I'm not insinuating that Donald Trump is doing any kind of insider dealing, but I saw Elon Musk, by the way. He bought like 100 million, like I think it was 1 billion, maybe, in shares. And then, I mean, literally, and then 3 weeks later, the shares went up like 9%. He's still got them, and the shares have actually gone up even more. And it's like, hang on a minute. Do you think something might be going on there? Yeah, like the market is messy, and when the market is messy, somebody somewhere is making a lot of money, and usually it's a person with a finger on the pulse, right? Do you know what I'm saying? Um, so, but this is the key. In order for you to take advantage of that, you've got to put yourself into a position of being ready and able and capable of being able to do these transactions yourself. And you do that through learning, for example, with property sourcing, how to source deals, how to package deals, how to negotiate deals, how to sell these deals on. You need the contracts, you need the deal packaging templates, you need all that stuff. You need to be able to practice. Like in the training now, we've got this AI system, which is utterly amazing. And you just talk to it, and we've put I think 11 different properties in the AI system, all different prices, all in different locations, and you don't know what the price that AI will accept, and you have to negotiate with the AI. It's a bonus module that we put in just last week on the property sourcing, and it's so cool. I was having a good play about with it, sent it to a few of my friends, and they were like, "Oh my God, this is amazing." But you've got to put yourself into a position where you are capable of being able to close these deals and being able to practice just the language of, okay, so do you want to go for this deal? What's your situation? How quick do you want to sell? Is there anything extra I need to know about the property? What are the questions that you should be asking? Like, you've got to go through and you've got to practice that in order to get good at it. And we actually include that in this training, which is ridiculously amazing, by the way. For 57 quid, which is the price for training, there's so much in there. We've had so many great reviews. Anyway, let me talk about some of the other stuff that you should be doing when negotiating with people who need to sell. Like, people who are wanting to sell their home, they're not wanting to sell it because they've made so much money. Do you know what I mean? They're having to sell it because basically shit has hit the fan. And when it hits the fan, we've heard this. We've had stories, and I was sat in an audience listening to this guy on stage, like being really blasé about how he was taking advantage of vendors who were in such desperate situations, and I hated it. It was so bad. From an ethical point of view, you should be an ethical property sourcer, because this is the thing: your reputation will carry you through for the next 50 years until you die. And that reputation is so important. And I'm not even saying that you should be an ethical property sourcer simply to protect your reputation. You should be an ethical property sourcer because it's the right thing to do, right? And also, you close far more deals being ethical than you will being unethical. So when you're dealing with vendors, you need to really soften the language. And I love this idea of having like a win-win situation. And obviously for a vendor, there's no such thing as a win-win. They don't really win because we're about to sell the home. It's going to be below market value. They're in trouble. But what I'm saying is that you don't make them worse. You don't make the situation worse, and you don't take advantage of them. If you do this with an idea of, okay, let's help these people as much as possible, you'll always do well, right? And so just when you're talking to vendors, you've really got to soften the language and have empathy. I've seen property guys, and they go in and they're really bullshit because they want to get the best deal and absolutely screw them down. Like, that's just not a nice way of operating. And I don't think you'll last long. Having empathy for a person and what they're going through is the way forward. And you can ask the right questions without being salesy. And obviously, the way to do this is by building up a massive amount of rapport and just working with them as well. The other thing I wanted to say was in title splitting, there are a really good number of ways to do the title splitting. And when you go to a solicitor, the solicitor will get it wrong, even though the solicitor, I can't say it, the solicitor. The solicitor, I don't like solicitors, even though the solicitor has a lot of experience on title splitting, usually they will do it wrong, and they'll tell you, no, you don't do it like this, you do it like this. And they are wrong. And you've got to be really careful, because they're about to cost you tens of thousands of pounds with their really bad advice. And so you've absolutely got to get this correct when you're doing things like title splitting or uplifting strategies, like when you're working out the calculation and you go, okay, this property, it's worth, let's say it's worth 200. I'm going to spend 7 grand on a kitchen, and now the property's worth 250. Like, really? A 7 grand or a 6 grand kitchen, and you've just added 50 grand's worth of value? Really? That tends not to work, right? So when you're going in and you're looking at these properties, you've got to be looking for something different. Not just a new kitchen, not just a new bathroom. This is if you're going to do the BRRR, buy, refinance, and refurb. BRR, too many R's there. Strategy. Depends on your strategy, of course, but you've got to be really realistic. And again, this is the thing: you make money when you buy property. So that 200 grand, yeah, it might be worth 250, but you're probably going to have to spend a bit more money than the 6 or 7 grand that you're thinking about. But actually, if you got that for 180 grand, then that would actually work better for you. But you've got to be really careful, and you've got to get these numbers correct. Let's talk about compliance a little bit as well. You have to be compliant. There's no such thing as co-sourcing. I have arguments all the time. Oh, well, my mate said you can co-source. No, well, they're wrong. Yeah, but my mate said he's been co-sourcing and is fine. Yeah, you might speed at 100 miles an hour and you've never been banned from speeding. Doesn't mean that you're not breaking the law. You have to be compliant as a co-sourcer. You can't just make it up. We've seen letters going out from it was FSA. Is it FCA that do this? FSA, Financial Services Ombudsman, whoever it is, FSO, right? We've seen the letters. You absolutely have to be strictly compliant on this. And if you're not, then you're going to run into some problems at some point. And this is where I think a lot of property sources fail. They do endless amounts of research, endless amounts of right move scrolling, endless amounts of trying to do deals but not actually having buyers to actually buy the deals, which is wrong. They spend months and months and months building systems up. They're so scared of actually speaking to another human being. You know, they've got the photocopier, they've got the hat stand, they've got the drinking thing, they've got a little office. They do all this stuff, right? But they actually don't do the work that they actually need to do. They get stuck in the analysis. They get paralyzed by making sure that it's absolutely the best deal, and they're not tracking conversations and they're not following up. If you can get everything that we've just spoken about, you'll actually do 99% better than most of the other property sources. And that's why it's so important. So look, if you need a hand, we've got the property training software, just property training course just down below. Go click that. It's 57 quid. Absolute bargain for what's included in there. And go and have a look at that. And we'll catch up with you on the next one. Hope you have a wicked day.